I'll just go ahead and type in these here letters, see if we can get the game to work. Might as well be playing the Commodore 64 version. Quite possibly the worst remaster in remaster history. Anyway, stand by for more.
What a monumental screw-up. The unmitigated disaster that is Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition. Only it's a long way off from definitive by any stretch of the imagination. To make matters worse, the Grand Theft Auto community has laid down the remaster/remake template for the development studio tasked with updating this incredible series of early Grand Theft Auto games. Yes, Grove Street Games royally messed up what should have been so easy to pull off. Grove Street Games, or should I say Grove Shite Games, appeared to have its roots in mobile game ports, but Rockstar insisted on the game being developed in-house, so used Grove Shite instead of using one of a slew of proven port and or remaster studios, the likes of Iron Galaxy, who did Killer Instinct on Xbox One and Skyrim on Switch, or Panic Button, who famously did Doom on Switch, or Saber Interactive, who remastered the recent Crisis trilogy, another highly capable port studio, but Rockstar went with Grove Shite Games. I mean, seriously? It was bad enough, but forgivable that Rockstar failed to renew licenses for some of the most iconic music tracks featured in the original PlayStation 2 games, most notable Michael Jackson, Kate Bush, Rage Against the Machine, Lionel Richie, James Brown, and many others have been omitted from Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition, not so Definitive Edition radio stations. Not the best, but forgivable. Now what isn't so forgivable is unbelievably old as the hills Grand Theft Auto 3, now 20 years old, Grand Theft Auto Vice City and Grand Theft Auto Los Santos has some seriously nasty frame rate drops on PS5, Xbox Series consoles and PC, and it seemingly occurs when traffic and pedestrians pile up near heavily neon lit locations like Malibu Club or Ocean Drive, which is your safe house, particularly when it's snowing milk icicles. I mean, Grove Shite's take on rain effects. Now, Grand Theft Auto Vice City is my absolute favourite in the series, but how poorly optimised is this package? Let's be honest here. These are the games that put Rockstar on the map, and $1 trillion later, it just doesn't seem to give a rat's tutu about its own classic games. Grand Theft Auto Trilogy is probably the worst remaster I've played in my entire 30 years of gaming. I can recall none so bad. It's an absolute disaster. I tweeted some days ago about how I really should have purchased the Xbox Series X version, as getting a refund will be less of a hassle than if I purchased it via the PlayStation Store. Now I'm quoting my own tweet here. Had I purchased the shoddy Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition for Xbox Series X via Microsoft Store, I would have probably been refunded by now, but no, I picked it up via PlayStation Store and now I'm stuck with what I'm stuck with, waiting on patches. Well, that didn't age particularly well. I actually contacted both PlayStation support and Microsoft support for a refund request, and the result was, interesting, but we'll get into that later. So here are the fundamental issues I have with the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy package. Now, the PS5 and Series X 60 FPS performance is utterly disappointing. It's heartbreaking that these old titles are not running on the latest hardware. Many drops and stutters with crazy pop-in, I mean entire buildings and signage just appearing in close range, and bugs galore. So many bugs. Cyberpunk 2077 is CD Projekt Red with envy. I'm literally out here playing the excellent Forza Horizon 5, wishing I could exit the vehicle and activate a mission. That's how bad Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. Well, what can I say? It is awful. So I've played less than an hour of Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, Grand Theft Auto Vice City on both PS5 and Xbox Series X, and it performs significantly better on Series X, which still performs badly given the age of these games and the power of current gen hardware, but maybe it's due to variable refresh rate, that's VRR. I'm not entirely sure how much it's helping, but VRR is currently only available on Xbox Series X and on specific panels only. Still, VRR shouldn't be used as a plaster to cover up wonky, stuttering frame rates and screen tearing. Games should perform as advertised. No wonder Rockstar delayed the physical releases, no wonder the review embargo was really late, and no wonder Rockstar cherry-picked scenes in the promo trailers, giving the impression that the off-character modelling will be the only real issue. But we're in for so much more disappointment than Grand Theft Auto really led on. I mean, it's GTA meets The Sims Android and iOS edition. Grand Theft Auto Trilogy on PS5 and Series consoles stinks of mobile version. Rockstar continue to milk and eat off Grand Theft Auto 5 since 2013, the game that has and continues to make the company so much money, and yet it couldn't even get a decent Grand Theft Auto remaster out the door. Shameless. This is what happens when the game community or the public at large make a video game company more money than some entire countries have on Earth. Lazy, taken for granted. Listen, that's the mentality. That's what it feels like. In terms of my history with the series, I'm not new to GTA. I was but 18 years old when I picked up Grand Theft Auto 3 day one on my PS2 way back in 2001. I remember it very clearly and loved the series dearly ever since. Grand Theft Auto played a major part in my 30 years of gaming, so yeah, I'm really pissed at Rockstar for this insult to the fans of Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. And I don't want to get overly dramatic about this, but I'm so pissed off right now. The entire package stinks, and you know what that stink is? It's called contempt. Contempt for the consumer who made Rockstar the kings of not just video game media, but all media. Movies, music, you name it. Rockstar had the audacity to remove perfectly serviceable, far more superior modded versions on PC and the official original Grand Theft Auto games, only to replace them with this half-assed fit for the dumpster remaster package. Now, the CEO of Grove Street Games actually laughed in our faces in a tweet that can only be interpreted as mocking. The CEO tweeted that he's enjoying the scrutiny of the studio, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. We're celebrating the trilogy release, and he implied patches were in the works. With this, what this really translates to is, we're happy for the attention the studio is getting either via good or bad publicity. This CEO seems to just be happy that everybody's talking about Grove Shite games, regardless of the poor publicity the studio is receiving. He's mocking you, I tell you. It's mockery. Honestly, I couldn't even be bothered to try and replicate some of the worst things about the package with this Vice City footage. Just take my word for it. It's terrible. The archaic PS2 versions and on Xbox, the original OG Xbox, play way better than this package. I really tried my best. Think of something positive to say about Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, and all I can come up with is, well, what's left of the music is great. I love the 80s vibe, and some of the visuals actually look good. It loads faster, though it's so hit and miss. It negates all the positives, leaving focus on the negative stuff. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I really applied for requests for refunds from both PlayStation Store and Microsoft support. Well, at the time of this recording, only Xbox promptly replied to my refund request, and it was a firm no. I wasn't given a reason for the decline, only a confirmation email that the refund request is denied and the case number is now closed. Thing is, I played less than an hour of Grand Theft Auto Vice City on Xbox, and I only played Grand Theft Auto Vice City, but refund denied. Grand Theft Auto Trilogy is the worst of the mobile versions and then some. Clearly some overlay AI algorithm did all the work. I doubt a human actually worked on this package. I jest, or do I? I mean, it's hard to tell. I cannot in good conscience recommend Grand Theft Auto Trilogy remastered on any platform. I don't like the attitude of the Grove Shite Games CEO, and I will not repeat the same mistake again and pre-order a digital game from any digital storefront henceforth. After the huge disappointment of Cyberpunk 2077 and now Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, I've lost all confidence in these once great game creators. I'm not blaming staff who worked on the game individually, I blame the higher-ups, the decision makers. Grand Theft Auto Trilogy is hands down the worst remaster collection ever made. Though what say you? Go ahead, sound off, share your thoughts and opinions on today's news, because that unfortunately brings an end to the video, but let's continue the discussion in the comments. And for all your gaming news, rumour, plausible speculation, hit the like button, spread the word, and hit the notification bell. Of course, subscribe and help us reach more gamers. Feel free to share the video. Consider supporting Foxy Games UK via Patreon. Find a link in the video's description. Thank you for the extra support. And that concludes our time together today. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, play games. Not this game, but play games, not corporations.
This is a disaster. We are so screwed, man.